I think one of the biggest misconceptions we have out there is that it's the technology that's the problem. So it's because, the video games, social media, that's the problem. YouTube, TikTok.
Right.
And really, I would argue anything that you want to do with intent in advance is traction. Traction is the opposite of distraction. The opposite of distraction is not focus, it's traction. Both words actually come from the same Latin root, trahare, which means to pull. So traction is any action that pulls you towards whatever you said you were going to do. So anything takes you away from what you said you were going to do is a distraction, and anything that is what you said you were going to do is traction. And there's nothing wrong with it as long as it's traction, as long as it's something you said you were going to do with your time and attention.
And it's like that isn't necessarily the problem. Also, in your books you talk about like it's the desire to escape discomfort, because that's a big thing for a lot of people. And I don't think we're allowed to be bored anymore.
Who says we can't be bored?
I agree.
Yeah, no, we should be.
I know. We should be bored. We should be. There's a really funny Instagram video I watched like a year ago, and it was like this is what Gen X life was like. It's like when we were kids, we'd go to the bus stop, and we didn't have a phone or anything like that, and we had to wait 15, 20 minutes for the bus. We'd pick up a rock and throw some rocks at the stop sign, and we were just like, that's what
productive stuff
we did with our time. Or just like something like in our environment, instead of like being sucked into technology.
I wrote Indistractable because I found that I was getting distracted. That I was with my daughter one afternoon. What really made me write the book was we homeschooled our daughter, and we had some daddy-daughter time. And I remember we had this activity book of different things that dads and daughters could do together. And one of the activities was to ask each other this question: if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you want? And I remember that question verbatim, but I didn't hear what my daughter said. Because in that moment, that was the time that I said, honey, just 1 second, I got to do this one thing on my phone. And by the time I looked up, she was gone. Because I was sending her a very clear message that whatever was on my device was more important than she was. And she went to go play with some toy outside. And that's when I realized that I really had to do something about this problem.